Sign the manifest, Opany, or get out. My father's voice didn't simply bounce around the boardroom, it shook the place. The sound rattled through the glass panels, thick and sharp like the kind of fury only a man feels when someone he believes he owns dares tell him no. David Sterling, creator, emperor, and self-appointed god of sterling global logistics, looked like he might combust on the spot. His face had gone an ugly, overripe shade of purple. He slammed his palm onto the mahogany conference table, so hard the fraudulent paperwork beside it fluttered like startled birds. Those falsified shipping documents, the ones he expected me to validate, lay directly in front of me, glowing like radioactive waste. And right next to him sat Ashley, my sister. His golden child. She wasn't even pretending to be concerned. She was using the black, unlit screen of her phone as a mirror, adjusting her eyeliner with a lazy, entertained smirk like the family empire wasn't currently balancing on the edge of a cliff. Those documents promised Omnicorp our biggest potential contract, that we could deliver worldwide shipments in 48 hours for their Black Friday rollout. A fantasy, a fairy tale, a sales pitch Ashley had spun during a champagne-drenched lunch because she wanted the commission and the applause. And now my father was demanding I put my signature on that lie, wrap it in legitimacy, pretend Ashley's reckless promise wasn't corporate fraud wrapped in glitter. We didn't have enough planes. We didn't have the distribution hubs. We didn't even have the routing algorithms, my algorithms, the ones I spent half a decade architecting to make such a thing remotely possible. But David Sterling didn't care about the physics of logistics or the laws. He cared about appearances. He cared about his favorite daughter staying shiny. We are presenting a united front, he growled, teeth clenched. You're signing it. Otherwise you're suspended. Indefinitely. No pay. No benefits. Until you remember what loyalty means. He expected me to crack. To plead. To be the daughter who had spent 10 years stitching together the problems he and Ashley created like a full-time emergency response unit. I looked down at the manifest. Then up at him. No anger. No heartbreak. Just crystal, chilling clarity. All right, I said. Then I tilted my head, met his eyes, and added, drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had a boss or parent ask you to lie for them? I want to know if I'm the only one. I stood, walked toward the door without haste. I didn't slam it. I didn't turn to catch Ashley's triumphant smirk or my father's bewildered rage. I just left. My pulse should have been racing. But it WASN single quotes T. My limbs should have trembled, but they didn't. For 32 years, I had lived in a permanent state of quiet panic, anticipating their moods, cushioning their disasters, carrying the company on my back like some modern-day Atlas. But the instant I said, all right, every last drop of that lifelong anxiety evaporated. Something colder, heavier, older took its place. I walked into my office, my corner office, earned through grueling hours and unending competence. Not familial bloodlines and shut the blinds. No tears. Tears imply pain, and pain requires caring. I didn't care anymore. Instead, I went still. I applied what psychologists call grey rocking, the survival strategy you use with narcissists. You become boring. Predictable. Emotionless. You deny them the chaos they feed on. They wanted a meltdown. I gave them nothing. Opened a cardboard box and began packing not everything, just what mattered. My MIT and Stanford degrees. The framed photo of my mother taken 3 days before the stroke. The only person who had ever called me brilliant without adding a disclaimer at the end. My ergonomic mouse. My lucky pen. And finally, I reached under my desk. There sat a small, plain server tower one everyone assumed was a boring backup. Ashley likely thought it was a footrest. But it wasn't. It housed the encrypted Atlas master drive, the heart, brain, and nervous system of Sterling Global Logistics. 5 years of my code, my architecture, my digital keystones. The company didn't run on diesel. It ran on me. I disconnected the server. The little green light blinked once before going dark. I placed it gently into my bag next to my water bottle, then sat at my computer for the final time, logged into the HR portal, navigated to queue controls, selected change employment status. Reason: hostile suspension. Effective immediately. I hit submit. Green confirmation flashed across the screen. 11:42 a.m. done. I put on my coat, picked up my box and walked through the bullpen. Tyler, my senior analyst, shot up from his chair when he saw me. "Prathani, where are you going?" "I'm suspended," I said evenly. "Effective now. But the Omni routing, the APAC merger. Who's approving manifests?" "Ask Ashley." I pressed the elevator button. The doors closed on Tyler's panic-stricken face, his hand already reaching for his phone. No guilt, not even a flicker. I had been the scaffolding holding up their entire corporate skyline. The person erasing Ashley's disastrous pricing errors before clients. Noticed. The one rewriting my father's botched contracts so we wouldn't get sued. The invisible engineer, keeping their chaos from spilling into the world. And they had cut that scaffolding away. They had no idea what they'd done. They thought they were disciplining an child. They just fired the only person who knew how to turn the lights on. Outside, the autumn air felt too crisp, too normal. The sun dared to shine. I drove home. Made tea, sat by the window. And thought about wolves. In ecosystems, everyone pays attention to the flashy animals: elk, bears, eagles. Ashley was the peacock. Loud, dazzling, living off attention. My father was the bear. Massive, consuming, convinced his weight alone kept the forest running. But wolves, the quiet regulators, shape the world. Remove them, and everything collapses faster than anyone expects. David. Sterling had just shot the wolf because the peacock seemed easier to admire. I sipped my tea. Then I thought about the bus. Factor the number of people who need to be hit by a bus for a project too. Fail. At Sterling Logistics, the bus factor was 1. And that one person had walked out the front door, carrying the only functional brain the company had left. By 1 p.m. Ashley had already posted a LinkedIn selfie with the Omnicorp logo behind her. Excited to lead Sterling Logistics into a new era of innovation. Big things coming. #new leadership. #girlboss. 50 likes. Vendors cheering. I wasn't angry. I was entertained. Like watching someone light a match in a room full of gasoline because they're in love with the spark. Then came the company-wide email from my father. Team, effective immediately. Prathani Sterling is taking an indefinite sabbatical to address personal health issues. Personal health issues. He was rewriting the narrative, painting me as unstable, fragile, unreliable, gaslighting 300 employees at once. Tried logging into my work email. Access denied. They locked me out already. They thought they'd won. They thought they removed the problem. They didn't know the Atlas system required a daily handshake from me to run. They didn't know about the dead man switch built into its core. I leaned back, exhaling slow. I wasn't their daughter now, not their sister. I was a stranger, holding the deed to their entire reality. Midnight was coming. I reviewed my finances. I wasn't worried. I had savings, but I wasn't touching a single dollar. Because tomorrow, I was about to get paid. I didn't watch TV, didn't listen to music. The silence felt intentional, ceremonial. I knew exactly what was happening at the warehouses, the night shift checking in, trucks lining up, conveyor belts humming, everything working beautifully. For now, I slept early, dreamed of an empty field at dawn. I rose, made coffee, showered, dressed in my sharpest charcoal suit, not for a board meeting, but for a funeral. Their funeral. I drove to the office. The parking lot was crowded. Inside. Sarah, the receptionist, looked like she'd seen a ghost. Prathany, I thought your dad said you was sick. I'm feeling much better, I said. Is Brian in? Brian, the company lawyer, whose shirts could never survive 5 minutes of David's temper, was about to have the worst morning of his professional life. He was a good lawyer, but a terrible fighter. He's in his office, Sarah whispered. But your badge won't work. No, I said. Can you let me up? I just need to return my keys. She hesitated, then swiped her card. Okay, but be quick. Ashley is on a warpath today. Thanks, Sarah. I took the elevator to the legal floor. It was quiet up here. I walked into Brian's office. He jumped when he saw me. Fanny, you shouldn't be here. David said. Relax, Brian. I said, closing the door. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to finalize my exit. Tyler was there, sitting in the corner chair. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes. They locked you out. Tyler said, Why did they lock you out? The Asia shipment is flagging errors and I can't override them. I know, Tyler, I said gently. I'm sorry. I turned to Brian and placed a single thick document on his desk. What's this? Brian asked, eyeing it like it might explode. It's my formal for severance. I said, per my employment contract. Brian laughed. A nervous, high-pitched sound. Prathany, you were suspended for insubordination. You don't get severance. Read the document, Brian. He picked it up, hesitated to read. His eyes widened. Hostile suspension. He muttered. Section 12. Immediate vesting. He looked up at me. His face loose in color. $1.2 million. He squeaked. In-stock options plus 18-month salary. It's all there. I said, Clausen. If a Sealy executive is suspended without a formal performance improvement plan or documented misconduct reviewed by an independent committee, it is classified as a hostile constructive dismissal. The penalty is immediate vesting. David will never sign this. Brian whispered. Helready did. I said 4 years ago when I threatened to leave for Google, he signed it to keep me. He just didn't read it. The door banged open. David Sterling stormed in. He didn't look like a CEO. He looked like a man who had been woken up by a fire alarm. What the hell are you doing here? He shouted. I told security to ban you. I'm just finishing up with Brian, I said calmly. Get out, David roared. You're done. You're a nothing. Go home and cry about it. She's asking for the golden parachute. David. Brian said, his voice trembling. David stopped. He looked at Brian. The what? The severance clause. Brian said $1.2 million plus salary. It's ironclad. David, you signed it. David turned tone. His face went from red to white. You think I'm going to pay you a fortune for betraying your family? He hissed. I'll sue you. I'll bury you. You won't see a deem. I'm not betraying anyone. I said, I'm just following the contract. I don't care about the contract. David yelled, It's my company. My rules. You get nothing. Now get out before I have you dragged out. I looked at him. Really, looked at him. I saw the fear behind Binja. I saw the desperate need to be in control. I'm not done, Dad. I said. Yes, you are. No, I said. We haven't talked about the software yet. What software? I turned to Brian again. Toronto page 19, section 4. Brian flipped the pages. His hands were shaking. Intellectual property. Brian read ownership and licensing. He read silently for a moment. Then he stopped. He stopped breathing. He looked up at me. And this time, there was genuinity in his eyes. David. Brian said, his voice barely a whisper. David, shut up. What? David snapped. Shut up and listen, Brian said. Prathani, tell me I'm reading this wrong. You're not. I said, what does it say? David demanded. It says, I said, my voice filling the room clear and cold, that the Atlas system, the routing algorithm that runs every truck, ship, and warehouse in this company is not company property. David stared. Of course it is. You wrote it while Yao worked here. Read the clause. I said to Brian. Brian read aloud. The proprietary Zeus code known as Atlas is the sole intellectual property of the creator, Prathani Sterling. It is licensed to Sterling Global Logistics on a renewable basis, contingent upon the creator's active full-time employment and good standing. Contingent. I repeated. David blinked. So I said yesterday at 11:42 a.m. you suspended me. You changed my status to inactive. You revoked my good standing. I leaned forward. When you suspended me, you suspended the license. The room went silent. The kind of silence that happens after a car crash. Before the screaming starts. That's impossible. David stammered. We're using it right now. Trucks are moving. Are they? I asked. I looked at my watch. The system performs a license check every 24 hours. It pings the HR server to verify my status. I looked at Tyler. Tyler checked the dashboard. Tyler pulled out his phone. He opened the logistics app. He swiped. He frowned. He swiped again. It's red. Tyler said, What's red? David barked. Everything. Tyler said, the map, the trucks, their hubs. It's all red. It say system halted. License expired. Fix it. David screamed at Brian. Fix it now. I can't fix it. Brian yelled back. It's her property. If we use it without a license, it's criminal theft. We're stealing it. I don't care. Turn it back on. I can't turn it back on. I said the kill switch is automatic. It's hard-coded and the only way to set it is with the master key. I patted my bag, which is on a hard drive that is currently in my possession. David looked at the bag. Then he looked at me. Give it to me. He said. He lunged. I stepped back. Don't. I said, if you took me, I call the police and I press charges for assault and corporate theft. David froze. He was shaking. Veins stood out on his neck. You're killing us, he whispered. You're killing the company. No, Dad, I said. You killed it. You killed it when you valued your ego more than my competence. You killed it when you chose a peacock over a wolf. I turned to Theodore. The license expired at midnight. Every package you've moved since then is a liability. Every promise Ashley Madetto Omnicorp is now a breach of contract. I opened the door. Have a good day, gentlemen. I walked out. Behind me, I heard David screaming. I heard Brian on the phone shouting for it. But it didn't matter. The wolf had left their forest and the winter was coming. I drove home in silence. But the world wasn't silent. By the time I parked my car, my phone was buzzing with news alerts. Sterling Logistics reporting major system outage. Black Friday deliveries at risk as global shipper goes dark. I went inside. I made a sandwich. I watched the news. It was fascinating. It was horrifying. Their collapse wasn't slow. It was instant. Without the Atlas routing, the automated warriors didn't know which box went on which truck. The conveyor belts just stopped. Trucks arrived at depots and were turned away because nobody could print a manifest. Ships sat in harbors, burning full waiting for docking instructions that never came. Ashley went on local TV at 4 o'clock. She looked frantic. Her hair was messy. We are experiencing a sophisticated cyber attack. She stammered into the microphone. Hackers have targeted our systems. We are working with the FBI to solve this. I laughed out loud. Hackers. She couldn't admit that her sister had simply taken her ball and gone home. She had to invent a villain, but the internet is faster than lies. Within an hour, a tech blog had found the public court filings of my employment contract documents that had been filed years ago during their restructuring. They found section 19.4. The headline changed. Not a hack. Sterling Logistics forgot to pay the architect. CEO suspends daughter. Accidental leads company. The stock price began to freefall. It dropped 10% in an hour, then 20, then 40. Omni, Corp issued Apress's release at 6 o'clock. Due to operational instability at Sterling Logistics, Omnicorp is activating contingency providers for the holiday season. We are terminating our partnership effective immediately. That was the death blow. Omnicorp was 60% off revenue. Ashley had promised them moon. I had taken away the rocket. My phone rang. It was David. I let it ring. It rang again and again 47 times. I didn't answer. There was nothing to say. He didn't want to apologize. Hugh entered the code. He wanted me to come back and fix the mess he had made. Hugh wanted me to be the good daughter, the fixer, the doormat. He wanted me to salve him from the consequences of his own actions. But I was done saving him. I poured a glass of wine. I sat on my perch. I watched the stars come out. Somewhere trucks were idling. Somewhere Ashley was screaming at an IT guy who couldn't help her. Somewhere, my father was realizing that money and shouting couldn't write code. I took a sip of wine. It tasted like freedom. A year is a long time in business, but a short time in life. 1 year later, I sat in my new office. It was small, just 4 rooms and a renovated loft downtown. It was flooded with sunlight. There were plants everywhere. The sign on the door had solutions, logistics, strategy, and architecture. I had 5 employees. We were profitable. We were efficient. We were happy. I didn't scream. I didn't earn loyalty. I earned it. I paid my people well. I listened to them. I built a system where the bus factor was never you believe. Respect is non-negotiable. 1. There was a knock on the glass door. I looked up. David Sterling stood there. He looked old. He was using a cane. His suit was loose, like he had shrunk inside it. Sterling Global Logistics still existed, but barely. It was a shell. They had sold the fleet. They had sold the warehouses. They were a small regional courier service. Now, Ashley had moved to Florida. She was selling timeshares. Can I come in? David asked. His voice was raspy. I nodded. Sure. He walked in slowly. I looked around the office. He looked at the awards on my wall. New awards from new clients. It's nice, he said quiet. I like it, I said. He sat down in the chair opposite my desk. He put his hands on his knees. I was wrong, he said. I didn't say anything. I just waited. I was wrong about everything. He continued, about Ashley? About you? About the business? He looked up at me. His eyes were watery. I miss you, Fanny. I'm right here, Dad. I said, come back. He said, please, we can rebuild. I'll give you everything. CEO, majority share, whatever you want. Just come back. Save the legacy. It's your name on the door. 2. I looked at him, and I felt a pang of pity. But then I remembered Module 3. The sunk cost fallacy. He wasn't here because he loved them. He was here because he had invested 40 years into a mistake, and he couldn't bear to walk away from it. He was trying to throw more good money, my talent, my future after bad money. He wanted me to be the glue again. No, Dad, I said. He flinched. Why? You won. You proved your point. What else do you want? I don't want to win. I said, I just want to be free. But the legacy is dead. I said gently. You gambled it on Ashley and you lost. You can ask me to pay your debt, so that's it. He asked. You're just going to let it rot. I didn't destroy a company, Dad. I said, I just stopped being the glue holding your mistakes together. He stared at me for a long time. Then he nodded a slow, defeated nod. You're just like your mother, he whispered. Stubborn. No, I said. Mom stayed. I left. He stood up. He adjusted his coat. Goodbye, PPHANI, goodbye, Gad. I watched him go. I watched him get into his car and drive away. I didn't feel sad. I felt light. I turned back to my computer. My team was waiting for me. We had a new project, a new puzzle to solve. I wasn't the daughter of a CEO anymore. I wasn't the sister of a failure. I was the architect. And I had a lot of work to do. Prathani walked away to save herself. If you were in her shoes, would you have gone back to Savath family business? Or would you have let it burn? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to share this if